Welcome to Watch Symposium. I'm Austin. Let's check out this new Casio. All right, so if you want to know the reference number, check out the description. I can't really remember it, and it's not written on the case, but it's pretty identical to the F-91W. There's some aesthetic differences, but functionally speaking, it's pretty much the same. Let's start out with the strap. So this is the strap it comes on, and it's light. It's very comfortable. I kind of like the aesthetics, and it's functional as well. You can, and if you've got a huge wrist, it can accommodate you, or all the way down to a kid. So it's got form and function with this strap. Now, as you know, these straps don't last forever. In other videos, I've mentioned that they age and they tend to dry out and crack. That's secondhand information that I've gotten from multiple people. And there's a comment recently about a gentleman who, I think it was on his shelf for something like 15 years, and he used it and it cracked. So I don't know if there's a way to extend the life by putting something on the strap, oil. I'm really not sure. I don't know if oil would do it. I don't know if oil would just be nasty. But anyway, it is a temporary strap, so I think you're looking at about a 20-year lifespan, perhaps. It kind of tapers up into these indentions, and if you take this watch into a chlorinated pool, these are going to fill in with the white from the chlorination, and it's really tough to get out. Even if you get in there with a Q-tip, it really doesn't come out. So buyer beware. You might, if you really want to keep it nice and black, I wouldn't take it into a pool. The buckle has Casio written in it. It's simple, and there are no sort of sharp edges on here. Sometimes you can get these cheaper watches. This is a $10 watch. It can get kind of sharp here, and around a kid that could scratch, it could poke. But this sort of the most dangerous part of this watch, I guess, would be this right here, and it's really pretty soft. So I'd have no really issues giving this to a young child to play with, even really like a baby, I guess. Well, I don't know about that. That could still cause problems, but no sharp edges, and that's one of the reasons I sleep with this watch, or sleep in this watch, I guess I should say. It's just really comfortable, and it's light, and there are no like sharp edges. I don't have to worry about rolling over and like scratching anybody. All right, so let's look at the back first. All right, so Casio F-94W. Okay, there you go. So I think I have the F-91W was the first one I got. That's more the classic version, and I suppose this is the F-94W. But again, functionally speaking, it's the same. Made in Thailand. All right, so, well, I would prefer it made in Japan, but that would add probably a little bit to the price. You can get into the case with a Phillips head screwdriver or just a regular screwdriver, just as long as it's a small one. And you've got these retro buttons. I don't think they've changed the buttons on these watches in decades. How do you like those fingerprints? We'll get those off in a second. They're really old school, and they could be more comfortable, but they work, and they're hard enough to press that you don't press them inadvertently. Sometimes when I put on my backpack, this will get switched. And this is the PM and the 24-hour modes. So they're not too hard to push, and they're not too easy to push. I mean, that could be an issue too. They're small, and yeah, they've got kind of a cool, just like retro look. I like that. All right, let's get this fingerprints off the dial, and let's start talking about the dial. Now, I really like the yellow, and the yellow is probably why I bought this watch. And I think you can get the same sort of face, sort of dial, I guess screen, except you can get it, I want to say in black. I do like the yellow, but I'm not so crazy about the gray. You know, if they put black there, I think that would just be a little too dark. So perhaps that's a better option than you know, the gray is perhaps a better option than black. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just, maybe I'm not a fan of the gray, or just gray in general. So blue, navy blue, I don't know. Anyway, it's that's the color scheme. And yeah, you don't have any sort of model number on it, which I think is kind of interesting. This is pretty big here, water resist, and yeah, it's a little too big in my opinion. Alarm, chrono, Casio is what it says, and then it's got some button labels there. I probably would put the model number on here if I was designing this, and I would make this a little less in your face, this water resist. But it's kind of a neat alternative to the F-91W. That's why I picked it up, just something aesthetically different. And of course, I cannot forget about the main difference, which is this circular indicator. And it's interesting because, and I'll make a comparison between the two, but this sort of houses all of the information here, whether the alarm's on, whether it's AM or PM, or whether it's in 24-hour mode. So whether you're using the stopwatch, we'll get into it in a minute, but it's kind of neat because it's all there, and so it really clears up this area of the screen. Whereas if you check out the F-91W, it's in the upper left-hand corner, all of that information, but the way they have it set up makes it look sort of like it's randomly placed. It's really not, because it's all sort of in the same area, but they sort of group it here, and that just makes for a kind of a cleaner display, which is kind of nice. All right, so it's Tuesday, so you got the day, and you've got the date is the 6th, and you've got the time, and then the seconds right there. And it's kind of nice because seconds are always a little bit smaller, and they fit perfectly under that little circle. So even though it's not a symmetrical dial, it's really balanced the way it's set up, and I like that. All right, so let's look at some of the buttons. You've got a light, and the light is pretty amazing. I got to say, I was really surprised because it's not just the inside gray part that lights up, but these yellow parts also light up. And I'll get some footage of that for you, but it's pretty amazing. I was really surprised. It's a neat watch to illuminate. Hi, Sophie. Yeah. Do you want to come in? Yeah, you can come in if you want. All right. Okay, I'm just checking out this watch. All right, so where were we? Now, if you have it on your wrist, it's okay. So I wear it on my left wrist, and so usually when I check the light, I press it with this finger, and they have it set up so you can put your thumb there, and then your forefinger here is very, very comfortable to check the light. And I like that, because if you were to put the light on the bottom, then, well, I guess you could do this, but it's not as comfortable, and you don't want to push this button. So it's very well thought out, and it's very ergonomically friendly, the way you just kind of squeeze that right there, and you can use that thumb rest to sort of as a counter to the pressing. So I like that. All right, so you got the light, you got modes. Let's just go through the modes. You got regular time mode. You've got the alarm. You've got the stopwatch, and this is the mode to set it with. So if you're setting the alarm, let's try to do it. Okay, so you can see right here, this is the signal. Now the signal will chime every hour, and that's sort of like if you're in middle school, that's what you turn on, right? So you can hear it in class, and it's interesting because I don't think I used that setting in I haven't used it since I was in middle school, except for last week. I was like, yeah, I'm going to try it out. And it was kind of nice. I'd be walking along and I would hear it. And all right, well, it's at the top of the hour. It was kind of neat. My daughter would hear it and we would talk about time. So it's neither the alarm nor the hourly chime is on. Now the alarm is on, the hourly chime, and now both. If you want to set the time, set the alarm, then let's set it for, let's set it for 5, let's see, let's just scroll through. I want to make sure it's it's 24-hour time. I was just making sure, which I guess if it wasn't, then yeah, that's interesting. In fact, let's do a little experiment. What happens? I'm going to do, all right, let's turn it and make it, now it's on just regular time. So you can see up in the indicator it's PM. Now let's try to set the alarm. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, and when you're setting the alarm, it uses that same indicator. Okay, so that indicator then becomes the alarm indicator. Okay, that's interesting. All right, so let's go back here. You can hear the complaining in the background. All right, let's see. Where was I? Okay, so let's work with this alarm. Okay, let's set it. I tell you what. All right, sorry, I'm flailing a bit here, guys. All right. Okay, let's set it for 5 a.m. 5 a.m. Okay, and it's done. And once you start messing with the alarm, the watch is intuitive enough to know that you're trying to set the alarm, and so you don't have to jump over and then turn on the alarm. It just automatically does it. In fact, let me just show you that. So, all right, so you scroll through it, it's done. Okay, the alarm's on, but let's say you change your mind. Okay, well, turn everything off. Okay, and then it jumps back over to, it doesn't scroll through all of the mode settings. It goes straight back to time. So jump over, and the second you start messing with the alarm, look up here at the circular indicator. It automatically turns that on. So it knows that you're trying to set the alarm, and so it just automatically assumes you're going to want the alarm on, which is nice. Okay, and you don't even have to scroll through. You can just click over to mode, and so notice it goes straight back to the time. So it doesn't. You don't have to scroll through all of these, which is really nice. And that's a nice feature. So if you're using, say, the chronograph, and okay, you're done. All right, well then it's just going to go straight back to the time. It doesn't after you use this, it doesn't put you over into the time setting mode, which is kind of nice. All right, so let's look at the stopwatch, or the chronograph. So there you go. You can see the little dot doing its thing, and then you can clear it with this. And another thing you can do is, I believe this is split seconds. So I guess somebody just goes across the finish line there, and so you record the time, but it's still going, and so then you click it over, and you can see, and the next person goes over the finish line, and now, okay, then you record the time, and you can see the indicator, SPL, split seconds, and there you go. And it's kind of interesting because even though it's stopped now, you can stop the timer, press this again, and you can see where you were. All All right, so let me just do that again. Okay, so let's clear it like this, how you clear it. So start, let's say you do the split timer, and you can see the seconds ticking by. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then you stop it. Okay, and where did it stop? We'll press this button up here, and you can see it was at 12. So that's kind of interesting. Now, one thing that I'm not so keen on is this. All right, so right when the second changes, that dot lights up, or that dot, I guess, that illuminates. So you have 13, 14, you could just cover this up, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So you can see it. But when you stop it and start it again, it gets off sync. It's off sync now, right? I mean, it's still doing, still, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Those seconds are still ticking by, but it's not popping on as this changes, right? That little dot in the middle is linked up to these two dots here. The what is this called? The colon. There's another word for it that's a little bit more special, but anyway, those are lined up, right? Those are linked up, and it's interesting because on the other watch I have of this, the second, that little colon going on and off, with each on and off, it's lined up with the seconds. You'd probably never notice this. It's sort of not important at all, but I guess if you're really particular about things, then you might notice that. And it's interesting because, okay, so it's good because now it's right in the middle of the second. So it's going to be pretty much opposite. Look at that. So every time that turns, it turns on. Hold on. Huh. Well, it looked like it was. Huh. Okay. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. All right. Looks like it's kind of lined up there. All right. Okay. Let's see what about this. Yeah, it's a little bit off. Anyway, it's just something I noticed. It's just kind of interesting. I mean, in practice, it doesn't matter at all. It's just very interesting that that on this watch, the blinking and the seconds are sort of detached, whereas on my other Casio, that blinking colon is directly connected to when the seconds change. Okay, so. All right, so we flip over to here, and again, it takes you back to the regular time. Okay, and so this is where you can set it. And so let's just go through. You can set the hour, minute, and this is the month. And it doesn't display the month, but it's pretty nice because if it's a short month like February, then the watch is going to take care of you, and it's not going to go to February 29th. It's going to go to March 1st. So I was kind of surprised when these watches did that. I thought, well, that's weird. It doesn't have a month. But then I kind of looked into it, and I was like, yeah, it does have a month. So so it's nice because you don't have to worry about those months that have something different than 31 days in the month. So the day, well, that's the day, that's the date. Let's just go through. Let's go Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I always think that Friday's really interesting because they put that little hat on the A to differentiate it, make it an R. Where are we? I believe Tuesday, right? Okay, and that's it. That's it. And then, okay, and then click on over. All right, guys, so let me go and turn that alarm off. And you know what? I cycle through it, but I think I'm going to enjoy a little chiming action at the hours. Let's go old school. All right. There you go. Sorry about the complaining baby in the background. Just kind of keeping it family oriented, I suppose. That's one way to look at it. Anything else I want to say about this watch? Yeah, there is. I suppose you can check the authenticity of these watches, and you know, some of the, like the F-91W is counterfeited. And if you get some weird color from eBay, it's not going to be, you know, there's like the F-91W comes in, I want to say black, it came in pink, which they're kind of tough to get now, and I want to say light blue, but you know, like a real weird color. It's probably going to be, you know, comes from China, it's probably going to be a knockoff. So you hold this down and it says Casio, and I don't know if the fakes do that. And another kind of interesting thing to check all of the LED, just press down all of the buttons, and that's really useful just to see every LED light up and just sort of check all the LEDs. And it was real easy to see if this center indicator was lined up using this technique. And then you just press any button and you're back. Oh, but then it changes it to PM. And we like 24-hour mode. All right, guys, 22 minutes of this Casio. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Would I recommend it? Yes, for $10. I mean, I would. If I had to choose, I'd probably go with the F-91W because I think it's more pleasing to the eye. But this is just something different. It's kind of nice. And I will leave you guys with some shots of the loom. Take care. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. All right, guys, that's about the best I can do with an iPhone. Now, I'm looking at it through my eyes. Now, I can see it's lit up all across the screen up to the circular indicator, and then the yellow parts are lit up as well. And you can, you know, everything's legible. This doesn't do it justice. You really can just see that it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You can see it's Tuesday. So if I had a better phone, or if I had more manual control over this footage, then I think you'd be able to see it. You just have to take my word that it's a lot better than this. And you know, I can see that it's 13, 14, 15. I can see the seconds ticking away. So anyway, maybe if I turn it this way. Okay, well, there, if I turn it that way, you can see it. It's a little bit better, just in the sense that you can see that the light does extend to the other side of the screen. Anyway, yeah, I think you guys know that you can be able to, you're going to be able to tell the time with this light. Anyway,